There's something about military service that just commands respect. The discipline, the sacrifice, it's really admirable. But what happens when that exact respect is used against you? Today, we're going to break down how scammers take advantage of that trust and, more importantly, how you can spot them a mile away.
This quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of the problem. Scammers aren't just making up stories. They are actively weaponizing your trust, your patriotism. They turn your admiration into a tool for manipulation, and that's exactly why these scams feel so personal and so painful when you figure it out.
That really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? When you're dating online, trying to separate a genuine service member from a very convincing fake can feel almost impossible. But here's the good news. It's not. There are clear, concrete steps you can take to protect yourself.
All right, so here's our roadmap. First, we'll get into the psychology of the scam, why it works so well. Then, we'll cover the early red flags you can spot. After that, we're going to arm you with a verification toolkit, get to the absolute undeniable proof, and finally, lay out a clear action plan so you know exactly what to do.
So why the military persona? Why is that a scammer's absolute favorite disguise? Well, it's because the very real challenges of military life create the perfect cover story for all their lives.
It all kicks off with something called the halo effect. It's a powerful psychological shortcut our brains take. See, because we respect the uniform, we automatically assume the person wearing it is trustworthy, honorable, and disciplined. Scammers absolutely know this, and they count on that unearned trust to get you to lower your guard from the very first message.
And here's the twisted genius of the whole thing. A real soldier's life gives a scammer a built-in list of totally plausible excuses. Oh, I can't video call, the internet's terrible out here on deployment. I wish I could meet you, but I'm stationed halfway across the world. Every single one of these legitimate military realities becomes a tool to keep you at a distance and hide who they really are.
Okay, so now that we understand the psychology, let's get into our first line of defense, spotting those early warning signs. These are things you can notice before you've invested too much of your time or, your emotions.
The first clue is almost always in the photos. A real person's profile shows a life actually being lived. Different settings, they're aging over the years, a few blurry pictures here and there. A scammer's profile, it often looks like a professional photo shoot. The images are just too perfect, too polished, or they're all clearly taken on the exact same day. It just doesn't feel real.
Next, you gotta pay attention to the speed of the relationship. This timeline is a classic sign of a scam. Real connections, they take time to build. Scammers don't have time. Their whole goal is to create this powerful emotional bond as fast as humanly possible. If you're hearing "I love you" in a week, that's not romance. That's a massive red flag.
Think about it. A real service member can talk for hours about the specifics of their job, their unit, even the food in the mess hall. A scammer can't. They'll give you these vague answers, or they'll contradict themselves because they're working from a script, not from actual experience. If they can't even keep their story straight about their own job, you know something's wrong.
So, you've spotted some red flags. Now what? Well, it's time to go from just passively observing to actively investigating. This section is all about the real tools you can use to go from just a suspicion to being absolutely certain.
The single most powerful tool you have is the reverse image search. It's fast, it's free, and it is incredibly effective. If you do this and you find their picture on a stock image site or linked to a bunch of other profiles with different names, well, you have your answer. The person you're talking to is using stolen photos. Game over.
You can also use official channels. Each branch of the U.S. military has a public website, and a lot of them have personnel locators. Now, they won't give you private info, but they can often confirm if someone with that name is even on active duty. If the official database has no record of them, well, there's your answer.
And don't be afraid to ask questions about the little things. Not classified secrets, just the boring daily life stuff. A real soldier can easily describe their barracks or complain about the terrible food. A scammer who's never set foot on a base, they're gonna stumble, give vague answers, or just try to change the subject.
Okay, so we've covered the subtle signs and the active tools, but what if you're still kinda on the fence? This next section is about the two definitive, non-negotiable signs that should end all doubt right away. Let's start with behavior. If you could only look for one single action, or maybe inaction, that just screams scam, what do you think it would be?
It's the constant refusal to video chat. You will hear endless excuses. But the reality is really simple. In today's world, real service members have phones and they have internet access. It might not be perfect, sure, but they can make a video call.
If they consistently refuse to show their face live on camera, it's because they can't. They are not the person in the pictures.
And that brings us to the final test. The one action that just cuts through every lie, every excuse, every bit of manipulation. What's the one thing that confirms with 100% certainty that you are dealing with the scammer?
This, any request for money. It doesn't matter what the reason is, an emergency, travel costs, a broken phone. It is always, always a lie. Real active duty military personnel get paid and they have access to financial support. They will never ask someone they've only met online for money. If this happens, it is, without a single doubt, a scam.
So, you've put the pieces together, and you know. It's a devastating thing to realize, but now is the time for clear action, not for a big confrontation. This last section is your plan to protect yourself and start moving forward.
The plan is super simple and direct. First, stop. Don't argue, don't explain, just cut off all contact and block them everywhere. Second, report them. Report that fake profile to the platform to help protect other people. And third, if money was involved, you start the recovery process right away by contacting your bank and filing a report with the FTC. The faster you act, the better your chances. So, to wrap this all up, here's how you can turn everything we've talked about into a habit. Just think of it as a personal safety routine. In the first week or so, do your basic checks. Then, push for that video call. All the while, just pay attention to their story. And please, never forget that bottom line. The second they ask for money, you have your final answer.
And let's end on this, because this is so important. Being targeted by a scammer doesn't mean you're foolish. It actually means you have a capacity for trust that they know how to exploit. The goal isn't to stop trusting people. The goal is to pair that incredible strength with wisdom so you can share it with someone who's real and who actually deserves it.
Rippling with ease, heartbeats sink into this melody.